Okay, so Pokemon Sword and Shield were announced last month, and everyone was excited for them. But over the past week or so, there have been a growing amount of YouTube titles saying that they're disappointing and Pokemon's running out of ideas. I'm excited for the game, so I don't exactly see their point, but I can kind of see where some of the complaints are coming from. I'll explain further. So, one of the first complaints I hear are with the models and how they're used from the 3DS games. But when they were made in HD and then put onto the 3DS, a system with low resolution that had trouble having 4 or more of the models in a single battle. The models themselves are fine. I'm sure what people are mostly upset about is the same animations from the 3DS. The processing of the 3DS is what held the Pokemon games back before. For it to run well, the Pokemon had to be almost standing still and only really move and attack animations and when they were hit, and even then the animations weren't really that fluid or dynamic. The Switch has outputted Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Breath of the Wild, two extremely intensive games that had a lot of enemies roaming on the screen at once. Now Pokemon really has no excuse not to incorporate more dynamic movement in its animations, at least just a battle stance. That's all I'm asking for, not just a Leafeon, like, standing there. One that looks like it's about to attack. I personally hated the 3D models after a while because they just stood there. Think back to Pokemon Colosseum on the GameCube, those models had personality. Those were monsters in the middle of a fight. It's the same personality that Pokemon fans loved back when they did sprites before the 3DS. Then all that got lost in the transition to 3D. The next topic I want to talk about was people complaining about the starter designs. And I've heard a lot of people saying that the starters are unoriginal and uninspired, and in writing this, I have nothing to really refute here. I see people on Twitter loving them all, so it's just a matter of people with negative opinions being louder than the ones with positive ones. Also, no one's gonna make a video titled Pokemon Gen 8 Starters Super Cool and Interesting, because that doesn't drive in views. Also, it's not a very good discussion topic, just going on about how cool Grookey looks. Anyway, on to the next topic. Okay, so people are up in arms about the art style, and I'm gonna be honest here, I don't know what they mean. I'm not trying to say that what they're saying is so out there I don't understand it. I honestly don't know what they're complaining about. Art style is a really broad term. In the general sense, Pokemon's always had a certain art style to it, and it's not that these games changed it, but these games just have the power to process it in gameplay. Back to when X and Y came out on the 3DS, the hardware was still fairly new, so the character models had to be chibi to process it better, but in cutscenes you would see that they were supposed to be proportioned correctly with flawless skin. I mean, come on, look at this. Anyway, when Pokemon Sun and Moon came out, Game Freak knew what they were doing and modeled the characters accordingly to their liking, but the resolution didn't really do it any favors though. But now Sword and Shield are happening, we can finally see the models Game Freak always wanted us to have. They were never meant to have extremely detailed models or anything, it's just the standard anime protagonist in a video game. I will, however, give my own interpretation and assume they could be talking about the world's art direction. It's very Pokemon-y, but I can see where people are coming from. Sometimes it looks very bland from a point that it doesn't have enough defining artistic traits to differentiate itself from other RPGs. Look at the screenshot and tell me that it's 100% Pokemon without looking at the Pokemon Center. Pokemon is meant to have a very bright art style as it's made with kids in mind, but I would not mind a more detailed landscape if they could still keep that bright aesthetic. Just throwing this idea out there, imagine a Pokemon game with a field like Gormott from Xenoblade 2, an open area within a linear game, so you can have both. And have it be detailed and different enough for people to look at it and just say, yeah, that looks like Xenoblade, or in this case, yeah, that's definitely Pokemon. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on how the art direction could have been more innovative. Don't get me wrong, I still love how it looks, but again, it's pretty simple. But who am I to be complaining about art when there are bigger fish to complain about on the internet? like missing mechanics. Random encounters are back, but from what I hear, that's the one good thing that people liked about Let's Go, that they wanted to innovate to the future of the series, but Game Freak's pulling a Nintendo and looking at pure review scores. Actually, Let's Go reviewed pretty well, but there were definitely enough people complaining about the games, and they didn't bother, I guess, to see what people actually didn't like, but take the entire thing as a negative. I mean, it's not a deal breaker, but it still upsets me, because it could have been a turning point in Pokemon for innovation. Pokemon's had a history of adding really cool mechanics into games, then in the next game they throw all of them away for new ones. It's like they have a base model for every Pokemon game, and then add things for one game, and start with the base model again for the next one. Like the player search system from X and Y being replaced by the really terrible Festival Plaza, or seasons from Black and White being taken out for some reason in X and Y, probably for limitations, and actually cool areas for legendary Pokemon instead of having them be in random wormholes everywhere, stuff like that. This is probably what people mean when they say it isn't innovative enough, because we haven't seen the newest part of the game yet, the thing that is in the Japanese logo. But there are definitely pieces missing, like what I said before, Pokemon walking with you, which is what everyone got excited for with Pokemon Let's Go. And also, for some reason, I noticed in the trailer that you don't get that aura around you when a trainer's about to spot you, which is a really weird takeaway from Sun and Moon. I felt like that was just kind of a basic thing that they could have carried over, but oh well. I like to compare this to people disliking Call of Duty Ghosts for being a rehash of past Call of Duty games, but every game in the Call of Duty series rehashes themselves, except for the new Blackout mode, I think it was. That's kind of new, but anyway, this is a Pokemon video. So in conclusion, these are definitely things Pokemon can work on, but I feel that a lot of the hate for these games is kind of unwarranted from people hyping the games up too much and expecting a more Breath of the Wild kind of genre-defining game like Breath of the Wild was, or Mario Odyssey. But we've only seen about 2.5 minutes of the game, so there's probably more innovation to come and more announcements to make. We can't really create full judgments on this game based off of 2.5 minutes, when they obviously don't want to pull a Sun and Moon and reveal everything at once. And, I mean, in the end, this is an opinion piece, and everyone's entitled to have whatever opinion they want, obviously. I just felt like discussing the situation in a video essay format type deal to try my hand at it, because I've been trying to get more into YouTube, and I never really wrote out a end for this, so I guess bye. Try to have open opinions and be open to other people's opinions. I'm done. Bye. Live your life. Have a good one.